Let's do a wrist check as we begin this video. You guys can see I am wearing a Speedmaster. This is a sapphire sandwich from Omega, and this is the discontinued variation that's a little bit longer in terms of lug-to-lug dimension, a little bit taller in terms of overall height than the current Metis certified Moonwatch. This one carries the 1863. It really is a sharp piece, and it's very versatile. I've placed it on an Artem Sailcloth strap out of Australia. I'm a fan of Artem. I've featured them previously on my channel, and they've just announced some new products that I'm going to be highlighting here in this video. A couple Deployant buckles that are compatible with their standard strap, which I've reviewed last year. You can take off the pin buckle and place on an RM style or a Blancpain style Deployant, which is pretty cool. We'll get to those here in a minute. But I think what most of you want to see is this Omega style loopless design that carries a Deployant. And I know Artem has been asked by their customers numerous times to do a Deployant, and they've started doing Deployant buckles, and we're going to take a look at this today. And I'm fortunate to have an Omega Aqua Terra in hand that actually just came in for a review. And this one, lovely small seconds variation on a rubber strap, and you guys can see this carries the Deployant from Omega. So we have the real deal here next to the style on the Artem, and we can compare in terms of quality the differences in the execution and how this third-party aftermarket buckle stacks up next to an Omega. And I will say right off the bat, I prefer the Omega buckle. I think it's done nicer. I think the finishing is noticeably better or better executed. I think the tolerances are tighter. It has more pleasant action when it comes to the release, the push button, and then the closure. In fact, this is a really good clasp. I really am a fan, not only of the watch and the strap, but the buckle as well. It's well executed, and you guys can see a gradual curve to the clasp, and so it's comfortable on my rather large wrists. And now let's compare that to the Artem, the Sailcloth out of Australia with this Omega style Deployant. And I will say the finishing is similar, but it's not quite at the same level. The lines of delineation aren't quite as good. The satisfaction of the action of the push button, not quite at the same level. And you guys can see it's a lot shorter in terms of the architecture, and that creates a little bit more of a dramatic curve to the clasp, and I don't find that to be the best. I actually prefer the length and the gradual curve of the Omega, at least for my sized wrist, which is 7.25 inches in circumference. So yes, the Omega is better. It's nicer executed. It's more comfortable, but it's also quite a bit more expensive. And so for the disparity in price, I would say this Artem is completely satisfactory for the price that they charge. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about Artem, is the fact that it doesn't feel out of place on a luxury priced watch, say a Tudor or a Breitling or an Omega or a Zenith. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I don't branch out into third party or aftermarket strap options, because sometimes, those offerings just don't quite match the OEM, the luxury priced watch in terms of execution or quality. And maybe that sounds snobbish. I guess it does. You can call me a watch snob in that instance. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's not being exclusionary. That's not being rude. But I find that Artem doesn't feel out of place. It feels appropriate on Omega and on other luxury priced products. And again, that's something that I like as a watch enthusiast. Now let's take a look at some of these other buckles here. We've got two different styles, and one of them is a blast. Let's start with this one. This is an RM style, a Richard Mille style buckle that carries a leaf spring system for keeping the swing arms of the butterfly into position. So you get to pull on one side and then it snaps open. You pull on the other side, it snaps open. And then obviously, to close it, you just push. And there is a very satisfying snap back into position with that leaf spring. And it's not something that I've ever seen done in a clasp, and I find it particularly enjoyable. Now there's another option here. This one is the Blancpain 50 Fathom style. This is the same price as the RM style, and this one carries a push button release for a longer, I guess you could say 3/4 length butterfly swing arm, and then the shorter side is just friction closure, and you guys can see nice finishing here, a nice curvature, a nice flow. So it fits on wrist well, and again, it feels appropriate. It looks sharp, but I do prefer the RM. I just, I don't know, that leaf spring is really cool. So that's, I think, my favorite out of the new releases from Artem. I like the fact that these are natural rubber backed. So if we take a look at the backside, you guys can see this lining that's very smooth and obviously waterproof, sweat resistant, and comfortable. So Artem has longevity in mind when they design and execute these embossed synthetic material. This is not natural sailcloth. That would actually be a pretty poor choice. In terms of comfort, if you were to make a strap out of natural sailcloth, so this is a synthetic sailcloth. It is waterproof, it is comfortable, and it is rather stiff out of the box. You guys can see these are these unworn examples are pretty stiff, and it takes about 8 hours, maybe 2 full days of wearing it before it completely conforms to the curvature of your wrist, and it becomes very comfortable. In fact, that's nice. Normally a good strap takes longer to break in, but this doesn't take much time to break in, and it becomes very comfortable. And let's say you're out with your family, you're wearing a watch, and you decide to jump in a river, go rafting, go fishing, whatever it is, you don't have to worry about damaging the strap. And that's one of the things that I like about not only OEM bracelets, but waterproof straps like this sailcloth from Artem. So just to surmise here, doesn't require a long break-in period. It's a little bit safer, at least the Deployant, when you're taking off the watch and putting it on, when it comes to slippage and falling, dropping your watch on the floor. I think a Deployant is a little bit more secure when you're taking it on and taking it off. Again, it feels at home on a luxury brand. I don't think it feels out of place. And I like the fact that you can choose stitching color. You can choose the finish on your Deployant. So there's good options from Artem on their website. Negative elements, the finishing is not going to be as nice. It's noticeably a step below an Omega Deployant. And when you're wearing the Omega style, and this is just maybe more part of the nature of the design, you have the thickness of the strap, and then you have the thickness of the shorter, more curvaceous swing arm, and then you have obviously the sailcloth on top of that. So it's very thick on the back side of your wrist, and it's a little bit bulky. I don't know that that would be to everyone's taste, but it does have a seamless look, or a loopless look, which is nice. So thanks for watching today, guys. I hope you found this video enjoyable and informative. And I'll place a link to Artem's website in the description where you guys can take a look at the different stitch colors, or the different Deployant buckles, the products that they offer. All of that will be in the description. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you next time.